Welcome to another episode of Humanly Plausible with your hosts, Roly and Richard from the Pink Collective.
So we have Andrew back on the show, so that only means one thing, that we're not that bad.
No, man, he came back. You know, that speaks volumes, yeah.
So, yeah.
I'm excited and flattered to be your only return guest.
Flattered?
Your first
You are our first returning guest.
First returning,
Thank you.
by popular demand, I might ask.
Yes.
When we posted,
He had a fan base.
He had a fan base.
We figured we brought you, we'll bring it back together. Some more clicks.
Yeah, I was like texting Roly, yeah, we got to bring him back, man, for sure.
I was like Taylor Swift and okay, Andrew will do. Taylor didn't return my call.
She's busy with kids.
So how you been? You back from Greece? He was just in Greece.
Oh, nice. Tell us about that. What was that
It
about?
was fabulous. Really
Yeah?
nice, really
Mike,
nice.
you gotta get to the mic.
Oh, we were in Crete,
Oh, okay.
and it's just the natural beauty is amazing. The cliffs right into the ocean. It was just really cool.
Sweet, man. So there's because I'm not even gonna get into that, but so we have leadership. Gavin now started leadership, the youth.
Right.
So
yeah, let
excited
people know
about that.
Gavin
Yeah.
is. Gavin is your son.
Gavin is my 16-year-old. He's a junior in high school. So I just want to do a quick plug for that youth program again. So how can people get involved in the youth program? How do you sign up for that?
Well, sophomores, they have to be sophomores when they apply. The application is going to open up in January, and it'll be starting again next August.
How many kids are in the program?
66.
66 programs. And then can you just give them a quick run through on that program? Like, what do they do in the?
Sure, yeah. So
how long is it?
Youth Leadership Broward. It's been going on for 37 years.
Mm-hmm.
It runs for 9 months. It starts in August. Every month has a different theme. So first we do a kickoff retreat, 2 days. First day is defining leadership, getting everybody on the same page in terms of, their leadership style, that there are leadership styles, that there's different personality traits, style flexing, breathing, all sorts of crazy stuff. So yeah. Public speaking. Breathing,
So can you imagine for a high school how cool that is? Like,
for sure.
High school,
Yeah, getting them ready for college.
Definitely not thinking about leadership and breathing and what type of leader I was.
Yeah.
Ironically, I remember in our last when you were here last time, one of the questions that we asked was, given the importance of leadership, shouldn't that be starting at an earlier age?
That's right.
And so Youth Leadership Broward is doing exactly that, right?
That last time I was here, we were talking about my Follow the Leader in You program. That's the FLY program. Yeah. That's for 8th graders.
Oh wow! So you even have that program too.
Yes. In fact, we're recruiting for that. That's coming up in April.
Man,
free program.
Wait, yeah.
For 8th graders.
Jonah.
He's in the 7th.
Yeah. Well, he's
coming up.
He's almost 40.
He is almost 40.
Yeah, that's coming up April, 3 Saturdays in a row. It's for 8th graders before they rise to become freshmen. And we bring in Jay and Ralph. I know Ralph was on your pod before. And do the same thing we do with the 8th graders that we do with the juniors, that we do with the adults. So we tweak maybe the language that we use.
Sure.
But it's the same, breaking it down, talking about, awareness and self-awareness and defining leadership and what makes a leader and defining their own personal values. We actually add that into the mix, and it's funny because I have adults walking out saying, I never really thought about that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what are your 3 defining values? So just to get them to put that into their perspective, I think can have a lot of impact. So back to Youth Leadership Broward.
No, yeah.
No, go ahead. You were going to say.
No, so I was thinking about funny because I've done the leadership program, not the Broward one, but and then in comparison to what these high school kids go through, right? Like how the dynamic of how these people come together. Because I know when everybody comes together in that room, right? You start the relations start building.
Yep.
How do you see what is the big difference between those young kids and the adults? Because sometimes I compare the adults to the kids. They do the same things, the same jokes. It's
human nature is human
crazy.
nature.
Isn't that crazy?
It's human nature. Tomorrow I'll kick off the morning and I'll ask the adults the same question I asked them: who slept well last night? Who tossed and turned and thought about, I have to do this thing out of my comfort zone that I've never done before.
Right.
And adults and youth and who wants to public speak?
Right.
Adults and youth and who needs to have self-awareness? Adults and youth, and hopefully by the time we're adults we already have all that stuff. But
Right. And so my perspective as a dad is like, and my two boys, which 16 and 12, is that I want to put them in those situations as early as possible so they can start experiencing
Being
them.
comfortable with them.
And be comfortable, because by the time you do, because it's true. Like when I did the leadership program, like, oh my God, like I would say half of the group was kind of like a lot of insecurities. And so it takes a couple of months just to break out of that, to eventually you start to see them spread their wings and they start becoming the folks that they, like who they really are. But it's crazy. So like, I'm always trying to push my kids in the fire, and hopefully, that's a good tactic.
No, I'm sure it is. And I just wanted you to finish about the overview of the Youth Broward.
So we'll do the
sorry.
retreat. The second day of the program is the ropes course. We take them on a ropes course. And then every month thereafter, starting in September, once a month is a different program day. And on the program days, every day has a theme. So culture, arts, and history, government education, criminal justice, business and media, and all of those different days, we give them a back-of-the-house tour based on what the theme of the day is. Nice. So for Health and Human Services, we'll meet with the CEO of Broward Health, and they'll get a back-of-the-house tour of the hospital memorial. So they'll get those kind of exposure and experiences. Criminal Justice Day, they actually go into the jail and they see what's going on. They hear from the judges. They hear from people in the state's attorney's office, people from the public defender's office. So now they've got like this understanding of the community. Yeah. So not only are they learning about themselves, but they're learning about the community. And we do Government and Education Day. We'll actually do a mock commission meeting with them, because people don't realize at the local level. So everyone wants to talk about national politics.
It's local.
But the impact
local is
that's
local.
what I learned. I mean, I learned how useful a commissioner can actually be. They're completely useless, and they're not. They're so crucial to the entire. I mean, just to the
Your
government
quality
body.
of lives. All of our quality of lives are more impacted by what our local government does. So
Yeah.
we open their eyes to, hey, go down to a commission meeting, get engaged, get involved, turn them on to all the different nonprofits. And now they're doing a community project. I don't know what Gavin's project is. What is this?
I don't think he hasn't even told me.
Oh,
But that's typically
It's a private project.
So they're broken up into teams and they're doing community projects, each in a different theme. So on their application, we ask them, what are the biggest challenges in Broward County? And food insecurity, homelessness, gun safety, mental health. So all these are the topics they put. We give them a list of 8, and they choose their top 3.
Okay.
Now they're in a subgroup with other people that are interested in the environment and how they can impact the environment. And now they come up with really creative. We say, find a problem, create a solution, make sure it's something that can be replicated.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And it's funny because
awesome.
So we were actually talking about, because I think I had asked him before he knew about what projects he was going to get, and I told him, I said, just a heads up, when they do put the group together, just like in school, you're only going to have so many that are going to be really engaged. So you guys are going to have to work hard to keep that group together and really push forward, because that's one of the things I learned in our leadership program.
And that's why we do those projects.
That's actually where I met Andrew. He wasn't in the group, but he led. He was what was overseeing our group? The chair.
Okay.
At Leadership Hollywood. Yeah, that's how I got to Leadership Broward. But
he made sure we stayed in line. But overall, like that's
a great story of the impact that you can have. Right. We had an idea. We wanted to do a startup pitch event. We wanted to bring entrepreneurs into Hollywood. Right. We're the Chamber of Commerce. We're the leadership program, and then we put this community project together. And then we look at this class group of people, and we see talented individuals like a Roly
who's actually in the field.
Right. So, and then there was other people that would come and join the group that had different perspectives and different talents, and that group really came together, and that's still going on today. They're in their 7th year.
Yeah.
So it's something you should be proud of.
Absolutely.
Roly named it Spark
Hollywood. Yeah. Well, we went. When we went through that whole brainstorming, that's kind of where me and Andrew, like at first, like we knocked heads because our we have like these strong characters, but then we truly bonded and became great friends.
Yeah. That's awesome.
And now I love the dude. So,
so I got a question in terms of your tenure, because you talked about your role in
we got to get into
Hollywood.
that box because we're like a few minutes.
Okay, all right. I just need to ask this. This is a really quick question. In your tenure now working, especially with youth, have you seen a difference in the youth that are coming in terms of some of the things that they have to work through versus the youth that you're dealing with?
That's a good question.
Today? Has there been an evolution of the raw materials of youth leaders that you have worked with?
It's definitely, I mean, there was definitely an impact on probably the whole COVID thing.
I was curious about that. Yeah.
There's, I think that I think that we're getting back but it took a year or two to get them back into the screen. I think even our year we had to do it virtual and it just wasn't the same experience.
Good to know. I was just curious about that because I know they're really starting to see some of the ramifications of that. So I just was curious about that aspect of things as you've evolved. So,
right, but there's a great. I don't have the exact quote, but basically there's a quote that says the youth today, they're so lazy, they're disaffected, they don't want to do anything, they just worry about themselves and nobody else. And that was Plato. Right? So it's nothing new. We're just old people looking at kids. And even myself, when I have that mentality of, oh, that wasn't good, you know what? It happened for them. And who knows what it's helping them to be prepared to deal with. So just got to shake it off, move forward, and and just
part of being a leader, being resilient. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
Awesome.
But we got to get to the box.
We got to get to the box. The crazy. We're now calling it the crazy box because we don't know what's going to happen. So
100%.
Andrew, go ahead and do
so
the
you're going to guess. Yeah, you just.
What will this bring us? Okay.
Where are we going today? Oh my God!
How much should we care about AI?
Yeah, but that's a good question.
Well, Roly asked me last night to be prepared to come with a couple of questions, and my question was going to be, how do you think AI has impacted your industry?
So
you're supposed to write them down to put them in the box. That's what you're doing.
Right. Well, now we got this. So we know we're talking about AI.
Yeah.
So who wants to take this one first? How much should we care about AI? So everybody's talking about AI this, GPT. Everybody's losing their jobs. It's like I hear this every year. Everybody's always losing their jobs for all this new technology. But as everything, new technology brings new situations, new positions, and new opportunities. So, what do you think? Where is the level of AI? I'll start. Here we go. So for me, AI. So AI, now we have the power of like this chat GPT that does a lot that you could really put into, at least in the world of advertising. We can, for instance, like one of the ways that we've been using it now is that to brainstorm. Yeah. So I can tell chat GPT, hey, write me 5 crazy stories about the sun. And then from that, like that just opens up all these different perspectives that we can now start to explore and then start working through. And then from that, we can start using that as a kind of a channel where we can start writing and building and constructing. Before, we would brainstorm and it would take maybe a couple of hours or a day or two just to get to some of these rough drafts. And we're doing that much quicker. AI now, like with imagery, like that we can actually tell it to composite stuff. So I think ultimately in the world of advertising, it's going to speed up the way we do things like it's always been technology. But in this case, like we're just going to have to get better in the way we communicate now with technology, which is insane because we just talked about like how communication affects, the internal culture. We were talking about diversity. So now you have AI. So the way we prompt AI is what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So that's going to require now just a different mindset. But for me, I'm not going to lie, it's a little freaky.
I'm having a very difficult time.
Really?
And Roly's laughing because we've actually had this discussion because I do see value in it for what we do in terms of exactly what Roly said.
Exploration.
I, as a purist in terms of being able to write and respecting writing, I find it almost like cutting corners. And it's interesting when I think about the chat AI and chat GPT, I think of what my grandmother had said about, being careful around fire. She said, and I'll never forget this. She said, fire is a wonderful servant, but a terrible master. In other words, you have to be very careful. And that is the same way I look at it. Exactly. That if you can put it into context of it serving a greater purpose and serving to help you be better as a writer versus it writing for you. I'm more concerned about our young people in school and in colleges that are going to be writing entire essays with this. I feel like it has the power, if it becomes this terrible master, to squelch and thwart any type of intellectual curiosity. Because if I'm assigned something as a high school student or a college student and I can use it, why do the research? Why do everything else? I'll put the prompt into my computer. I'll have a paper. I might change a paragraph here or there. But at the end of the day, what did I really learn? That's my concern.
Wow.
I know, Richard Downer here.
I'm drinking coffee. Should we change?
I'm glad that you're there.
Yeah.
I'm glad you're there because.
And where are you?
Because I've
exploited it.
Cautiously optimistic, but I'm glad you said all that you said. And I think that, so this is the first time, and this isn't my thought, and Noah Yuval Harari said it, this is the first time that we don't know what the job market's going to look like in 7 to 10 years, right? So your son, right? These YLBers, these 8th graders, this is the first time we don't know in 10 years what your future is going to be like. For all of the Middle Ages, for all of ancient history, you knew in 10 years, if you were going to be a cobbler, because your dad was a cobbler, you're going to do that stuff and nothing's going to change. Well, now every industry, everything is ripe for disruption. Right?
100%, yeah.
But volatility breeds opportunity.
Yeah.
And we both know that the education system today is probably more in line to making people prepared to work in the industrial complex. Let's just say, imagine a world now where it doesn't matter if somebody can give you a regurgitation of the Gettysburg Address, whether ChatGPT writes it or they write it. It doesn't matter because for the rest of their lives, they're going to have access to the information.
Right.
So what is our minds like? Where are we going to go? How are we going to evolve to do something like completely new? Like I said to my friend who was very anti AI, I said, imagine that maybe the AI is going to figure out how to reverse aging, dude. Like in the story I'm telling myself, AI is not going to come like Terminator and kill us all. AI is going to be something we use, maybe,
10
to chart the genome, to uncover some kind of a thing, right? Like chromosomes change, then why do they deteriorate? Imagine that AI can figure that out in our lifetimes.
Yeah.
That's the story I'm telling myself because the other way is just like...
And it goes back to that. That would be an example of it becoming a very useful servant to us in terms of positive and productive results and things that actually enhance our quality of life. But with that, if not, and this may become just like a personal responsibility thing, if you're a parent, you're going to have to really monitor,
But what if them not having to rote memorization evolves our kids to being more creative? What if they don't need to be monitored because they're always going to have access to that, whether it's through Neuralink or through access to their phones, like right now. Right. So just imagine what could we become? Who knows if, imagine the mindset in 1850 when the engine starts coming on and everyone's concerned about what is this going to do? How is this going to disrupt?
For me, I think the irony is where we're in this social media and we're socially right now so almost introverted, right? Where from the outside everything looks extroverted, but it's not. Everybody's kind of within their own. We went from COVID where everybody was locked up indoors. People are now even us just working together in an office space. That's not normal. We're still working through that. Yeah, where we have to come at and just be physically together. So just getting back into that, but then. What I see now, the huge pivot is going to be now we have to become really emotionally intelligent, which is something that we've always talked about, and how important that is in the workforce and in cultures, internal cultures, communication. So to be emotionally connected and understanding, because eventually what I was talking about prompting for AI, that's where the evolution will be. So you have this kind of isolated people going into this new future of being kind of emotionally aware and being connected to AI so it responds in a way that makes us efficient. So that's where I see this kind of the worlds colliding. And And I think also it's a big part of character too. So like if you're a person that doesn't like change, AI is going to be a struggle for you.
Yeah.
And I love change.
I know. And that's the thing. And I'm tempering my concerns with also enthusiasm for what it could be. And that's kind of what we talk about. But I think the thing that concerns me once again is that first word in AI, artificial. Yeah. I think artificial is sort of representative of a huge part of our social dynamic now. People live artificial lives on social media in terms of portraying who they want to be. That in a lot of cases is totally different from their reality. And when you add on this artificial intelligence instead of enhanced intelligence, I think that's a very important distinction, because artificial intelligence, when I look at it and when I look at something like ChatGPT, it's like, I am going to submit this, but did I actually do it? And it's not authentic. And that artificial part of it is what is concerning to me.
And I think that's, to Andrew's point, I think that's where the evolution will happen, is where like those boundaries of checks and balances on that side of the world, like creativity is going to be measured in a different way. That's what I think is going to change. Creativity.
That's an interesting point.
Creativity won't be as black and white anymore, because what you're talking about is because now we have access to all this information. So it's going to be more about it's going to be more about being the ringmaster versus
the cultivator.
Being adaptive to the situation, being willing to change.
Yeah.
Like those are going to be characteristics probably more appreciated in the future, adaptability.
Yeah.
Than rote memorization or regurgitation of facts.
So think how crucial the leadership program at Broward will become.
It's going to be.
No,
it is. Honestly, I honestly believe.
It's not BS. Like think about how important, especially how you describe the program, right? Of giving folks the insights, these kids insights to our community.
Yeah. How
their minds can now start working and processing to build a better community. And how then that's how you start building the future for AI talent, because now they can use enhanced intelligence versus artificial intelligence.
Yeah, I like how you rebranded that. Those guys, they should be calling you up and having you come out there and then.
But there's a big reason why it's called artificial.
So here's something we do at Leadership Broward. We actually chuckle and rate emails that we get that are ChatGPT'd. We can tell.
Wow.
We can tell who's using ChatGPT to communicate to us. And I even
was that Gavin?
No. But it's going to get better, obviously, and we're not going to be able to tell at some point, or I don't know how it's going to tell if it's written by, if a story is written by a
my
person.
esteemed colleague. Thank you.
And you're like 7 years old.
I'm very honored to be part of this prestigious program.
Tone it down.
Yeah.
Oh, and I'm always super respectful. I'm like, please, can you make this post sound better? And I give it the post. And then I'm like, oh, that was great. Thank you. But let's tone it down a little. And I'm thinking, why am I being nice? But just in case they take over. They're going to remember that Andrew was respectful.
Was respectful just in case, right? Now you're looking out for you. I think that, I was at one of our college and clients, our institute, we have a Christian college that's one of our clients. I can't remember what it was. So I'm thinking,
in the mix.
So that was one of the things. We had a workshop last week, and I was meeting with the academics, and I asked them, "Have you started to see any impact?" And they said, "Oh yeah," and they have developed ways in which, once again, and I guess just hearing it from educators and seeing their frustration already just made me really look at it critically, because I definitely agree. There's times where we're working on something and I'll go to it and I'll say, give me 5 different such and such impact statements that would encompass this theme. And it might be just 2-3 words that, I like those 2-3 words. And then I can write based on those. So it's definitely once again, a great servant, a great tool, but I could definitely see it getting out of hand if we're not.
But it's like,
careful.
if you take the position of like, okay, as a creative director. So as a creative director, you're directing creative, right? So that position, like you have to oversee writers, designers. Am I the best writer? Nope. Can I write? Yeah. No, not the best. Design. Am I the best designer? No. videos, editing, all that stuff. I have to oversee that. So, but basically, what I'm overseeing is the ultimate clear direction in how everything gets funneled. So AI, it's not, you shouldn't be ashamed to use AI, because I think AI, ultimately, you're still going to be the one that oversees everything.
Correct.
And ultimately, you're going to put your spin on it. But AI really can enhance the time that we have working on something. So now we can utilize 30 minutes or an hour on a project and maximize every minute of that. So I think for now, we should be looking at it as enhanced intelligence, which I love now.
Yeah. Well, listen, that to me, I think was the spirit. I think that was the spirit of it. But at the same time, I think
he feels guilty. Don't you see that?
No,
like the AI police gonna arrest him.
No, I honestly believed. Yeah. Well, no, they came after me, but I really do believe that was the spirit of it, and I think that if people use it that way, it enhances my ability to write. Absolutely, and that's the way I choose to use it. But where it starts to go into where it artificially critically thinks for me, it artificially composes my thoughts. That's where I'm having the issue.
Well, when you're relying on it.
Yes, and when you're relying, and the critical thinking part, like when the fact that I remember when I first got on it, and I was just like playing with it and just like thinking of any ridiculous thing possible. And I gave it a prompt for something that was a very critical thinking piece.
Yeah.
And the fact that it could spout out this, whether or not it aligned with the way I organically would have critically thought, that was just like, wow, what's going to be the purpose of critical thinking? People can just, and so much of, and I guess once again, as a educator, that's the first thing.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of like, for me, maybe I'm more at ease with it because I've been doing it since my early 20s. Like I've been working with all these talented folks, right, in groups.
That's a great point.
I'm so used to collaborating with them that working with a writer where I like, even when I work with Richard, when me and Richard work together, he'll write a piece and I'm like, but how about if we did this, and I'll start messing with that, and he's like, and that's it. Like, so he's my chat GPT. And he's like, all right, let me,
And maybe that's one of the reasons. Now I think about it, maybe because you've been in advertising and creative for such a long time that your perspective on it is different. Whereas I'm coming at it from, formerly being in higher ed administrator and an educator. I always kind of look at things that way first. And so I see you find the appreciation of it, and I find the challenge in it.
There you go.
I think it's going to push us to reimagine education.
I agreed.
Because of your point that there's going to come a point where it's just going to be able to be available to do whatever for people. So society is going to have to figure out a different way to educate people to have the skills that are good for the future, right? Yeah. And a lot of what we're doing right now is skills, to punch a clock, to pull a lever. You're not going to have a living wage pulling a lever. It's just not. And a lot of the bell ringing and a lot of the regimented stuff that's going on in our school systems right now. There's so much more things that we could be doing to engage them and to bring them and not to try and
And what you're doing, I think, is going to become more important, where you're actually taking them to see how a city commission works or speaking to a CEO of an organization, because that's going to give them the experiential, foundation that helps them to stay critically thinking and challenging them to critically think without a computer in front of them. So that, I think, is one of the things, what you're doing is huge in terms of supplementing what's going to happen in the classroom.
So, just to bring things to a close, to summarize, any last points you guys want to make before we wrap it up? I mean, we already made some really good points. I think one of the things that just kind of hit for me right now is this whole, what you were saying about punching a clock and kind of the boxes. I think COVID set us up for the reimagining of the workplace.
Agreed.
And I think now we have to reimagine who we are as team members, as employees of an organization. I think that now as leaders, we need to start putting an exponential value on people way beyond hours and time. So it's about what value they bring to the organization. And I think, again, AI, and this is enhanced intelligence. I think that is how we got to look at it right now, is how can we enhance what we're doing right now with this technology?
Correct.
You said something, you're the creative director, right? So until, and I'm sure it will get to the point where I don't even know if it's going to be more creative then, but you're the gateway between whatever AI is saying and what you're doing in the real world. Right. And the real world is still here. So, you know, that those skills and the ability to interact and to communicate are still going to be, I think, really important.
Awesome. Well, all I want to say is, Andrew, can you just share with everyone how they can get in touch with you, man? Because if they're interested in having their young people to participate.
Save your young kids now.
Yeah, exactly.
AI is coming for you.
AI is coming for you. Make sure you get them involved. Tell us about how they can get in touch with you.
Hit me up on LinkedIn, Andrew Zulo. You could hit me up on Facebook, Andrew Zulo.
Okay.
And email me at andrew@leadershipbroward.org.
Awesome.
Excellent, brother. So thank you for being on the show a second time.
Love it.
Thank you.
Great conversation.
Such an honor. Such an honor. Thank you both.
Very insightful. It's always a ding that I get, like it's great.
Keep
I love
doing
it.
what you're doing.
My man, Andrew.
All right, guys. Check out the next episode. Appreciate
Take care, everybody.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
You feel the same if you were at the back of